So good morning, everyone, and it's a real honor to be here and presenting in front of you today. So as we've heard from the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Budget and Planning of Korea, the digitalization of public financial management comes in different shapes, forms, and has so many elements. But today we'll focus on something that is kind of newer than the regular IT modernization, which is harnessing artificial intelligence for smarter public finance. So across the world, governments grapple with how to manage public finance more transparently and more efficiently, especially given all the shocks and uncertainties that our distinguished speakers were mentioning in the beginning of today's event. AI can be a powerful ally. Just to give a few examples, if we're talking generative AI, it can translate data into actionable insights that drive policy decisions or design policy interventions, such as tax compliance interventions. Predictive artificial intelligence can support fiscal forecasting, provide unprecedented accuracy that informs better budget planning and resource allocation, and monitor public procurement, taxpayer filing, or anything else. The timeliness of these insights is an important advantage. It does happen much quicker than when we actually had human experts by themselves doing it. And Korean experience is a good example of how AI could be leveraged, but with a small caveat that everyone, I don't think there is a single country that advanced too much, right? Everyone is at reasonably early stage, some earlier than others, but we're all in the beginning of the journey. If we look at the PFM cycle, which is a very conventional picture for many years, I just wanted to make one point that from planning into execution, into monitoring and evaluation, AI can find its place everywhere in different ways. But it also doesn't come without some challenges. Just to name a few, one is operational complexities, right? You don't really want AI model to be a standalone exercise that will not be embedded into the core business processes of whether it's Ministry of Finance, Treasury, or tax administration. Business processes need to change, and they need to actually really work together between the human capabilities that ministries have and artificial intelligence capabilities that are being developed. Then there is a skill shortage. AI and data analytics skills are scarce, not only for public sector, but even for private sector. So that's a challenge that needs to be addressed as well as we move forward. And there is a need for robust data governance that I think we have mentioned before today. Successful AI hinges on A, availability of data, and B, quality of data. But we also need to manage data so it's A, useful, but also privacy and data protection elements of it are addressed to ensure rightful privacy of citizens. There are longer-term challenges as well. One is use of AI requires building confidence in outputs produced by AI, both in terms of population to ensure that the reforms can actually be argued and sold to the population, but also to decision makers, so they can be certain that they're making their choices on very solid analytical outputs. And second one is career planning, right? AI is excellent in automating data processing and many other data analytics tasks, but then again, it requires supplementary human expertise at a fairly senior and experienced level. The question that arises is actually how you ensure we retain this expertise long term, given that the junior roles can actually be reduced by use of AI. Something for probably our HR departments and decision makers as well to figure out over the medium term. So I'll try to talk today about some of the examples on using artificial intelligence in public financial management. Quite a few of them is actually from our work with our client countries, and including some of them with yourselves, across different elements of public financial management, public procurement, fiscal forecasting, tax compliance, and then spending reviews. First one is public procurement, and I'll start with a very simple case in Brazil where the World Bank partnered with the government to use AI to analyze very vast amounts of procurement data, 15 million invoices, details about 30 million firms, et cetera, et cetera. And it turned out to be extremely extremely powerful exercise in terms of finding irregularities in different procurement transactions, as well as discovering some fraud. We're also doing some in AAP, including the predictive AI risk model for evidence-based insight in procurement compliance, technical and operational risk as well. The treasury, the cash forecasting, is another very obvious candidate for use of AI and data analytics models. We partner in Indonesia with the Ministry of Finance to support use of AI for cash forecasting and analytics. And also in particular, we have been developing jointly with and supporting the Ministry of Finance in developing revenue forecasts using Anaplan ML, resulting in real-time updates and increased accuracy of forecasts. Certainly helps cash and liquidity management. Tax compliance, I picked one, actually first country that has done it, but there are quite a few others. And we'll actually, I'm sure, delve into this example later on during the COP sessions. But it's Georgia, and it was actually using the machine learning and AI to improve audit targeting. So using first the models that was detected to tax evasion, training the model on synthetic data, then actually refining the model based on real data provided by Georgia Tax Administration, and finally applying the model, and seeing pretty much double increase in terms of hit rates, i.e. audit efforts that have actually resulted in some additional revenues. Finally, spending reviews, which are usually very data-driven exercises, and would require normally multiple hours of man or human efforts in looking at the data and trying to analyze it. So the World Bank has been increasingly using AI tools to supplement our analytical efforts with AI-driven data analysis. In Tunisia, we have used it to evaluate how accessible social protection services were to beneficiaries during COVID pandemic. A bit more recently in Nigeria, the machine learning, big data, and integrating it with actual available conventional tools such as surveys and censuses help produce much more granular poverty maps, again, very useful for policy making. So AI essentially allows us to analyze very large data sets and determine patterns at very much lower costs than we used to be able to do before. And finally, to conclude, just a few points. One is, I think we all have to agree that AI is transforming public finance, and the process is ongoing. Governments plan to use it for planning the budget, implementing and evaluating budget program, and this trend will likely continue and grow. But success does depend on more than technology. One, we mentioned strong institutions and sound business processes that can actually be supplemented by use of AI capabilities is important. Skilled people remain essential. And then ensuring responsible data use and investing in skills is really what success hinges on. So with that, let me stop and hand it back over to the Secretariat so they can guide us into panel session. Thank you.